Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. So tell us something about yourself. What do you do there? Where are you right now? And where are you from?
I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba, in Canada.
All right.
Uh, it's a fairly big city. It's our capital city
All
in
right.
Manitoba,
Mm-hmm.
and I am a teacher here in Manitoba.
All right.
I've been teaching in college now for about 27 years.
Oh, that's a long, long duration.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
mostly at one college. I was at one particular college for about 22 years full time. And then
Mhm.
most recently, I've just been teaching just contract courses
All right.
throughout the year. So not a full time
Hmm.
position at all, but more just contract pieces and
Hmm.
teaching mostly international students over the last 3 years.
Oh, that's great. So first of all, tell me, it's been 27 years you are in teaching profession. So how did you come to this profession? I mean, was it because of the passion you had for this teaching profession, or was it the only option you got at that time?
That's a really good question. I was a paralegal in the legal system.
All right.
And I had kind of started out with that from high school. So I worked as a paralegal for many years,
All right.
and I was laid off from my position
Hmm.
and saw, I believe it was my brother that suggested that a college was looking for someone to teach the
Hmm.
legal assistant course.
Hmm.
So why don't you apply? So I applied, and it just kind of went from there that I got the position, and the training that I needed was provided through that particular college,
All
and
right.
that's how I started
That's
teaching.
wonderful. That's wonderful. So you have mentioned that when you joined the college, they provided you some training which was required to do the teaching profession job. So what was that training? Would you please elaborate that?
It wasn't really anybody that sat down with me. It was more modules that I was provided
All right.
to read through and to learn how to do things like develop a lesson plan and how to deliver materials. But it was a lot of just going through the materials on my own
Hmm.
and just learning through it. It was a really good guide. I found that it was really, really helpful, but I probably learned more just from experience, just getting in the classroom
Hmm.
and just starting to teach and learning what worked and what didn't.
Hmm. That's great. All right. So just as you were mentioning that you are teaching to international students nowadays, how does it feel? I mean, how is going your experience of dealing with international student and how they are different than your local students?
I really love it. I found that in the last 3 years, I've learned so much about other cultures that I didn't know. So
Hmm.
I find it's a learning experience for me as well. So the courses that I teach them are how to adapt to the Canadian college and work environment.
Hmm.
So it's a lot of fun just sharing what things are like here
Hmm.
in comparison to what the students are used to. So we talk about that, and I learn a lot about how things are different in the
Hmm.
countries that they're coming from.
Hmm.
So I find that that's really, really a lot of fun. And I think that the students learn a lot. I think that they really get to see what some of the differences are so that it's not so hard for them to adapt in the
Hmm.
classroom and in the work environment. So
Hmm.
and I do find as far as the difference between international students and our domestic students here, there's a level of politeness that sometimes I don't see in our domestic students
Okay.
that I always really enjoy.
Hmm.
And it's maybe a little bit more respect because
Hmm.
there are some of the things that I recognize being a little bit different.
All right. All right. That's great. That's great. Okay. So just as you have mentioned that you have explored different cultures in the past 3 years, any culture that stands out that you really that catches your fancy?
I think but they all do.
Oh.
it's all it's all so new to me. There's all every culture seems to do things a little bit differently, and I just love learning about all of them. So I
Hmm.
can't say that there's any one that particularly stands out. I think they're all unique and they're all really interesting to learn about.
Yeah, indeed they are. So now, I mean, coming back to the reality, what do you think? What is the exact reason that students are coming to Canada in your country to learn? What do you think is the basic educational difference, the difference in education system that you have in Canada and they do not have in their countries, and that is why they move on?
One of the biggest differences that I've seen is that in our educational system, we do a lot of hands-on.
Hmm.
It's a lot of hands-on learning. So if we are talking about how to do something, we will actually have them do it. We
Hmm.
do a lot of like group exercises and just skill building as far as getting used to presentation skills and things like that. And I find that those are some of the areas that the international students really need to practice in, that they haven't been doing those things in their country.
Hmm.
And the educational systems are a little bit different. Some are similar, but a lot of them are really very different and just are given a textbook and say, learn this and you're going to have this test or this
Hmm.
exam after this. And that's that. Whereas we're much more in Canada, much more interactive.
Hmm, that's good. That's good. Okay, so this is about the student, and how about the teachers? How do you find the teacher is different? I mean, the teacher in Canada is different than other teachers from other countries.
Just in so much, and I can only say from what students have mentioned to me,
All right.
that they find that they wouldn't be able to approach or talk with their
Hmm.
instructor sometimes in the other countries. It's just
Hmm.
something that's
Hmm.
not required and not really maybe wanted. But
Hmm.
here we expect that. We do want them. We want questions. We want feedback. We want them to express if they feel differently about something than
Hmm.
what we've said. So we're kind of always looking for that interaction. And I think that's the biggest thing that they're not used to, is that
Hmm.
that's what
Okay.
they've mentioned to me anyway.
That's okay. And just because they are trained in a way that they cannot communicate to the teacher, and when they come to you, you are giving them the training. You are providing them an environment that they can come and talk to you anytime. They can ask you question. So how do they find it, and how do you find it? Is it easy or difficult to let them come out of their comfort zone?
Some of them find it easier than others. Others struggle.
Hmm.
That's one of the reasons that we teach. The course that I teach is it's called Introduction to College and Work, and it's specifically for international students. And
Hmm.
it is to give them that introduction, to get them used to speaking up in class, to get them used to answering questions and participating in groups and that kind of thing. So that 2 weeks really helps those that find that really difficult. But there
Hmm.
certainly are some that struggle more than others for sure, and they do have a hard time coming out of their comfort zone. As you said, it can be really difficult for them.
True. So it all depends on the instructor. It all depends on the teacher, how student is behaving inside the classroom. That's so true. Now, based on that, we know it, the teacher is actually a leader in a classroom. How do you see this perception?
I believe that yes, the teacher has to be the leader. The students need the guidance. They need, whether they're learning in the classroom or online, they need somebody to explain the course, to go over the course materials with them, to be able to kind of guide them along.
Hmm.
I know that there are a lot of online courses now that students are kind of just said, go online and learn this, but it's still, I think, important to have that
Hmm.
instructor contact and have someone leading them through and just letting them know to plan a schedule and a timeline and to be there for feedback and to be able to answer their questions if they have any. I think it's really important that they have that leader.
That's good. And in the developing countries, of course, teachers are also putting their most of the efforts over there. But still, what would you suggest them that how they can realize it that they are the nation builder, they are the leaders in the class, and it's not only teaching them about the content, it's also about developing a lot of skills and exposures in a student. What would you suggest to the teachers from other countries?
Try to really get a connection with the students, try to build rapport in the classroom. I think that's really important.
Hmm.
Try to be on a level with the students that they are comfortable
All right.
with the teacher.
Hmm.
Once you establish that rapport with students, I think it makes a big difference in the classroom,
Hmm.
and encouraging them, trying to get them to try new things and learn new things, giving positive feedback,
Hmm.
constructive criticism when necessary,
Hmm.
being available to answer their questions, just being that support person for them, I think is really important.
Hmm. Okay, so these are the qualities that they should have whenever they, related to the profession, to the teaching profession. And what are the attributes that they should have in themselves? The skills that a teacher should have himself.
Hmm. Okay, I just want to just thinking on that one for a moment. I think you need to be really well organized.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot, if you have a large classroom of students, there can be a lot of things happening at one time. You
Hmm.
have to have good computer skills for
Hmm.
sure,
Hmm.
especially with today's technology. Your computer skills have to be very, very good.
True.
You have to know how to teach. You really have to know what's going to reach the students and what isn't. So really taking whatever courses that you need to take to be able to learn those particular methods that are going to work.
Hmm.
What else? Kind of patience for sure. You want to be a patient person. You
Hmm.
want to have that patience. You want to be a good listener. You want to be kind.
Hmm.
I think those are all things that a student definitely appreciates and will grow more and gain more confidence if you can offer those types of traits in your classroom.
Hmm. True, true. And teacher is basically a role model for a student, and not only for a student, but in fact for the whole nation. And teacher should develop these skills, what you are mentioning right now, in order to stay on the position where a teacher is supposed to be. Because in developing countries, most of the time, I have seen teachers. It's my personal perception that teachers are losing their value with what they should not be, and I take it like they themselves are also responsible. It's not only the students are not treating them the way they should be treated, society is not treating them the way they should be treated, they themselves are also responsible. All right, moving on to the student side, what do you think? You are a person who is experiencing the uh, international students as well. What do you think that a student, after getting education, what are the skills that a student should have before jumping into the marketplace?
Oh, they need so many different skills. That's another part of the course that we teach.
Hmm.
I think that they need to definitely be a team player.
Hmm.
Most organizations, particularly here in Canada, will require someone that is able to work in a team.
Hmm.
Also, someone that is they've self-motivated. In
Hmm.
Canada, there's in discussions with students, I know there's some differences that they're maybe not learning that independence and that motivation that might be necessary to be successful in Canada.
Hmm.
We call them in Canada, we call them soft skills that a
Hmm.
student is
Hmm.
required to have. So anything from being a leader, being able to make presentations, being able to work in a team, as I said, having confidence, having computer skills, um, problem solving skills.
Hmm.
But that's a few that just come to my mind right away. That I know
Hmm.
that they will be
Right.
much more successful if they have those sets of skills.
Hmm.
Even if they have all of the technical knowledge to be able to do the job, they still need to have all of those soft skills or personal skills to be able
Hmm.
to be successful, I think.
That's great. And just as you have mentioned, the first quality that a student should have, that is the team building, or how to work in a team. Well, I take it like how education system is gonna help a student in that aspect. For instance, in our education system, we are being taught that we just simply have to get the first position, and we have to be the winner, and you have to win alone. So how can they build this skill that you have mentioned, the team skill? So what would you like to say about that?
Well, we do a lot of things in the classroom. I do a lot of group discussions. When we start a
Hmm.
new topic, I have the students get into groups and
Hmm.
discuss it and present. And it's often a bit of a challenge for them too, because they are a mixture of cultures.
Hmm.
So sometimes there might be some cultural differences that they're experiencing, and they have to work through those to be able to talk with each other, to be able to discuss the topic that I've given them to discuss. And I
Hmm.
often have them come back and present to the class as well. So they get to figure out between the three or four of them who wants to present, who wants to be the leader
Hmm.
that specific time and take on that presentation. But I
Hmm.
also encourage that they take turns. So it's not the same confident person that's going to be presenting every time, that they
Hmm.
have to mix it up and every student has to have a chance to present. So
Hmm.
it helps them in building their team skills, but it also builds those presentation skills that are
Hmm.
necessary.
Hmm. All right. And how about the communication skills? I mean, how do you take those?
Communication skills, the same thing is try to get them to communicate more often in class, to answer questions. If they're learning online, as what we're doing now with Zoom, I
Hmm.
use the chat
Hmm.
feature often and ask for that communication, ask that they are answer questions in the chat. It's worth marks. We
Hmm.
have a participation mark that we assign as well. And if I'm not seeing that communication or that participation, they won't get the value of the mark that they
Hmm.
are entitled to get. So that encourages that communication as well.
Hmm.
Sometimes I know they struggle with understanding each other's accents at times,
Hmm.
and some are really afraid to speak out because of that. They're afraid somebody won't understand them, or they're afraid they won't understand the other person. So
Hmm.
it's all about, I think, providing them with a comfortable classroom environment so that they know that it's okay. If you don't
Hmm.
understand, it's okay. Ask
Hmm.
the person to speak a little slower. Just create something that is a comfortable area for them to be so that they will build on those communication skills.
That's great. Would you please give us any one example of handling the student, just as you were mentioning that there are students who are introvert or who are feeling shy, who are afraid of not getting insulted by the other student because of their accent. How do you give them the confidence that they can communicate in the classroom?
I would have them usually just take a small piece of presenting in front of the class and really congratulate them and tell them how well they did. And once I start doing that, the rest of the class starts to do that as well. The class will
Hmm.
clap, or they will say, well done, or way to go. And I,
Hmm.
I can see particular students that are really, really shy and don't want to speak up, just in 1 week make a huge improvement. And that
Hmm.
always makes me feel so good when I see that improvement and that confidence growing. That really makes a huge difference.
Hmm. That's good. And that's where you show your leadership in a classroom.
Yes.
True. All right. So moving on, you have mentioned that what are the qualities that teachers should have. You've also mentioned what are the qualities that a student should have. Now, the final question is, what are the qualities that an education system should have in it, so that the teacher and the student, they all are getting benefit from it, because this is something from which everybody has to pass through. So
Right.
in developing countries, of course, I mean, you know it now. You are the person who knows the different culture. You are the person who know from which background they are coming from, what exactly they lack in something. So as a whole, in general, what do you suggest? What exactly the education system should have to give the student best what he or she deserves?
I think that's a really good question. And what the college that I'm at right now, I think we have a really good system in place. We have a strong support system for the instructors. We have all of our supervisors available. Our academic coordinators, for example, are always there to support us and to
Hmm.
answer any questions that we have and to help us if we have any difficulties with anything that happens in a classroom. So
Hmm.
I think you need those people to support the instructors for sure.
Hmm.
I also think that it's important to have a strong academic policy in place. So when it comes to ethics and integrity, and things like that, that students are well aware of what is acceptable and what isn't
Hmm.
in a college environment or a classroom environment, because those the characteristics of the ethics and integrity carry through for their
Hmm.
whole career, and it has to start in a college. So I think that that piece is really, really important.
Hmm. All right. And any suggestion that you can give to the government of all these underdeveloped countries to put something, might be to put any, to take any initiative in the education system? What government can do for the education system?
Maybe just some examples, like having enough training available as well for instructors, and
Hmm.
not just the initial. I know that's, a lot go to university and have their teaching certificate or degree, but providing extra courses that instructors are always updating their skills and upgrading their computer skills and things like that. So I
Hmm.
would say providing and having some funding available so that it makes those types of things easier for
Hmm.
instructors,
All
and
right.
perhaps even funding available for students as well to be able to take courses that they would like to take.
Hmm. That's great. That's great. Yeah, sure. And just as you have mentioned, the trainings. I mean, I have talked to a few of the international students as well, and they were also mentioning that training is something that is always there in the developing countries. They always train students, and they always let them know what exactly is the future, what exactly is happening in the present. But I mean, you might have experienced that students from the other countries, they are only trained about the past. Yeah. So how
Right.
would you take that? Any suggestion on that thing?
Yeah, we definitely want them looking forward to their career, and any of the courses that they take here in Canada will prepare them for that career. More so in the colleges here than the universities, but really looking at the the subject at hand, and these are the technical skills that would be required to do this particular task. So we're going to practice it in the classroom, so that when it's practiced in the classroom, then they can take it much easier into their career.
Hmm.
Another thing that we offer are what we call practicums or internships that are
Hmm.
usually at the end of every course that a student takes. And
Hmm.
they will actually, as part of their course, go out into the workplace
Hmm.
for 4 weeks or 8 weeks. It depends on the course and the length of the course. And they
Hmm.
get graded on that as well. So it's an opportunity to apply what they've learned in the classroom.
Hmm.
It also then opens the doors for employment, because now they've actually had some experience in that particular field.
Hmm. True.
Because one of the things, it's hard to get a job if you don't have experience. So our goal here in Canada has been to provide them with that bit of experience.
Hmm.
Even if it's
Hmm.
only 4 weeks or 6 weeks, it's still
Hmm.
some
Some
experience in that
practical
particular
experience.
field.
Hmm. That's great. That's great. Yeah. So I believe that is it for today, Lorinda. Thank you so very much for your time. It was really lovely talking to you, and the
You as
exposure
well.
you have, I really wish that all the teachers should have that.
It was a pleasure meeting you as well. I hope
Likewise.
anything that I've said, I hope something helps. And
Yeah, 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 these are the exact things which are missing. And this is exactly what I was looking for. And you gave the perfect answer. Thank you so very much for
wonderful.
that. All right, then,
Very
Lorinda,
good.
thank you so very much. Take care. Bye bye. Allah
Bye
Hafiz.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.